Because this isn't currently on our budget, in our budget, I have to say no, because I feel like otherwise I'm opening up a can of worms where I think Mr. Wentling said it very well tonight. He said every department thinks that their department is the best and their department needs are the most important. And while I really value that, and I really value that a wrestling mat is needed, as I was walking to look at the mats this past week, I'm walking past other departments that have just as great of needs, if not greater needs than that mat. So again, I don't really personally have anything against the purchase of a mat. I just want it to be something that is placed in our budget. I know we as a board are looking at that. We're looking at a master plan. And so I would hope that a purchase of a mat would be put in that, and I believe it will be. But tonight, just based on that principle alone, I will be voting no. But again, it's not because I want children to be ill. So just want to make that clear.
We did a little research. I believe Ms. Hassler had Zach, I can't recall the last name, look back, and we can't link anything. Any kind of infection the kids got seemed to be from an outside source. So we couldn't connect those dots, which is good.
Can I ask Director Yovich a question? This came to us, can you clarify how this came to us? Because I know it was said that we knew we needed it last year. Well, the department knew they needed it last year, but it wasn't put in that budget. So how did it kind of come up now?
I was looking back over my notes, and the original quote, I believe, was from March or April. Okay, so that's when it kind of came across my desk that we might need another mat. Okay, so it was more in that springtime thing. So I did not put it in the budget for this year now, because our budgets are pretty much completed in November, December. So I did not put it in the budget for this year. And that's why it's not in the budget. Came to my desk in the spring. And then for one thing led to another. It wasn't the timing to bring it to the school board. So I did not bring it to the school board. Then when Dr. Bensel was coming on July 1st, I didn't want to hit him with that, the second day saying, hey, we have $15,000 for the mat, so I kind of waited until this time-ish to get to know him a little bit and get him get his feet wet. So that's why it's here now. Okay. I do appreciate the fact that it should be budgeted.
I can add that we modified what was on the agenda to just approve up to, because Ms. Hassler and I, Mr. Yovich, were looking at alternative mats at different costs, and I just got this afternoon. So there are some different ways we might be able to get at this at a lower cost. We're just not quite sure yet because Ms. Hassler and Mr. Yovich and I haven't sat down and talked about it.
So would it be possible if say this gets voted down tonight, just because of it exceeding to that 15,000, are we able to pull together some other prices and maybe bring it back up at the next month, since there isn't like a disease in particular, a student didn't come with something, or?
Timing-wise for the ordering and getting it in, if it was ordered early October, is that too late?
I would say it's going to probably take about a month to get in, roughly, and we need about 3 days to lay it out, to clean it off, because it comes in with a lot of powder on it, things like that. So you have to mop it several times before you can use it. So you have to figure out how to do that yet too. So,
possible or not possible for October, if we ordered it in October?
October, yeah, because November, well, they're wrestling all the time now,
right. So
it's not like, we make
well, the game mat's not ideal for constant practice, right? But as a temporary solution, that would be an option as well.
Well, and that's some of the information that I gave Dr. Bensel today was the competition mat, which is the one that's like 7 pieces, is good for mobility. If you want to do competitions that, you move to the high school gym, you have your meet. It's not on a daily basis. It doesn't wear as well as a classic mat would. They recommend a classic mat for practices. You can even flip the classic mat. You can use one side, then another side. Now, the lightweight mats roll up better than the classic ones do. Okay, but there are some things, and I put them on there, there are some things that we can do to a classic mat to help extend the life of the classic mat. The other thing with the classic mat too is you can recondition those after 7 to 10 years. You recondition them, then get another 5 or 7 years out of them. You can't recondition a lightweight mat. I mean, you can wrestle on both of them. The one's kind of made for one thing, one's made for the other. I mean, schools are using them for both, okay, but
I feel torn, like I can see that side and I can see that side, because my other concern was how many other athletic programs do we have that may have a similar need right now, or, I mean, that would be my fear, is if we do this for wrestling, will football, will there be any spring sports, and just when
there's
it
always
comes
something.
in, so
There's always something.
makes me nervous, but I can see the need as well, so thanks.
Another option is to table it, bring it back to committee first week. Mr. Alves could actually present what he was talking about, and then give you a chance to think about it and vote on it next time. That's an option. If you don't want to vote on it right now.
At the end of the day, though, the price isn't going to exceed $15,000, or we won't be buying it according to the motion, correct?
The quote we got for the most expensive mat was under $15,000. It was $14,900.
So the most expensive is that?
Yes.
And it could
Be
be
less than that.
So it will be less than $15,000?
Yes, and it could possibly be 9.8 if it was a lighter weight mat.
You appreciate Mr. Garbage not asking me the second day, but the second week.
Yeah, he gave me 3 extra days, so I appreciate that.
Any other discussion?
I wanted to just say something, I guess. Really for me, I'm very excited to get some sort of a master plan, because I really don't have a way of understanding what the highest need is at this point. And along with Stacy, I think that we have a lot of needs, a lot of needs. So it's hard for me to say like up to $15,000 for a mat when I know that there's so many other, let's just say math, like there's so many things that math books or a version of math books that we need or something like that. Like there's so many things, and so for me, my vote would be no at this point until it's budgeted in or we have more information.
So I look at it as a health and safety concern. I know that you guys did spend some time looking at whether or not we can connect it. I know wrestling athletes that have different skin irritations because they wrestle. I'm not so sure anybody can really pin it down on the exact location. I think it's pretty really hard to tie together. But last meeting we talked about, we're not even sure how old those mats are, 10, 20 years. And Nate said last week that mat bought itself over and then some. We already got our money's worth out of that mat. But the real point is, to me, I don't want to have kids stand in line and have fungus or skin problems. So I'd vote yes.
What justifies this for me and why I'll vote the way I will is just, I understand what you're saying, Director Hackman, but to me the biggest difference between needing math books and other curricular things is the math books don't really pose a health risk, and this really does, honestly, with skin diseases and MRSA. So because our kids' health is at risk, that's why I feel that this could be addressed tonight, and that's why I'm going to vote the way that I will.
Dr. Pencil, may I ask, in the budget, where will this come from? what area of the budget? Will this come from
We-
any
we-
fund balance, or is this?
We can code that. We have, we definitely have it in fund balance. I mean, we have almost $3 million in fund balance. And also we're still looking at our total expenditures for 16, 17, and we're very, Mr. Hackman and I are sure it's going to come in way below what we thought. So there is going to be more money floating in the fund balance. And I'm going to explain that here momentarily. But yeah, there's definitely funds there.
Is this something that I have in my head, and I recall hearing the money that we got from admissions? Is that then divided by the sport, football, wrestling? So do we have those funds from admissions particular to wrestling?
To be honest with you, the money from admissions, I do not believe that goes back into athletics. Okay, but that's something that the business department would have to, I don't ever see that money, so I don't know. But I'm not sure if that just goes back into the general fund. I really. Oh yeah, that's right, Dan's here. Yeah, there he is.
Just as I'm thinking out loud, I'm torn between the health issue, because I know this isn't just a wrestling thing. My daughter has been on those mats for cheerleading, and I know that so many other sports as well use those mats. I definitely understand the priority of the budgeting. That's very important to me as well. I'm not sure that I like the idea of it just coming off the fund balance. I think I would feel better if I knew that it was coming from something specific in the budget that's remaining for this year, in particular in relation to sports.
It has always bothered me that admissions from sports goes directly to general fund, because I do feel like we're not keeping track of, and we're not taking care of that area. So that thought's been going through my head as well. And another thought that's been going through my head, we're getting ready to negotiate with the teachers. You know, I'm going to have a really hard time negotiating with teachers about a contract if we can't even give kids what they need. So I think I would have to vote yes for this.
If it helps at all, our first two football games, because they were local teams, we played Pine Grove and Cedar Crest. In Pine Grove, we cleared $4,400, and Cedar Crest was cleared $5,400. So we cleared almost $10,000 in those two football games, which is a lot higher than last year, but it's because they were local, two local draws. And we have Anvil and Elko that help, so those are going to be two more big draws. So we will bring in a decent amount more money this year than we did last year, because we didn't have the local teams last year.
I know I already said my piece, but I'd like to just ask one more question. Mr. Roberts or Dr. Benzel, whomever, do PE classes utilize that mat, or is it put away specifically for after school or extracurricular?
They can use them if they need them. I don't know what all they're doing, in that room, because they're just rolled up to the side.
But they can if they would choose to.
If they would need them, yes.
Glenn, do you mind if I say one more thing? Last year, when we were talking about coaches' salaries, and I'm sure we can go back to the tapes and look, so if I didn't say it exactly right, someone tell me. But when we were talking about increasing the coaching salaries, which I think was like $60,000 more a year. Okay. Ticket sales were brought up then. So, we can't use those ticket sales for everything. Right. So last year, we said we were using them for $60,000 additional in coaching expenses. So I just doesn't fit for me.
And that's why that money needs to go into separate areas, separate envelopes, separate account. I don't know how you do it. So then we know exactly how much we make and how much is coming out of there.
I'm sure we know how much we make,
Right.
or we could.
The gate receipts don't come close at all to covering athletic costs and expenses. And so it goes in the pot, we use it all, and when it's not used, or what doesn't cover it, just comes out of the general fund.
I shared those numbers in my report at the end of last year. I mean, I could give them to you.
Nate, are you ready? You good for it? Okay, let's call the vote.
England,
Yes.
Wolf,
Yes.
Heckman,
No.
Sell,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Zekalik,
Yes.
Murray,
No.
2 noes, 7 yes. Motion carried.
Next is our superintendent report. So we'll just take a quick breather while we set it.
You have a very simple version of this in your packet. It is color coded. And I'll kind of explain where these numbers end up in that single sheet. Last chance before your board's stiff. Put it up. Oh, you're right there. I apologize. We have a tool at our disposal now, and I'm not going to go through all these numbers, but it's a tool that we can now use when we're talking about negotiations with teachers. And we're looking at different things, if we'd have to do a tax increase, what that would look like moving into the future. So the way it's designed right now is it looks at the last, the 4 green columns are actual numbers, and if you notice 16, 17 is in green because the auditors are still, actually they're probably in their room right now, verifying our numbers. So we'll come to you sooner or later, and those 16, 17 numbers are going to change, guaranteed. Especially here, benefits, so I'll get to that in a little bit, but 16, 17 is going to change, but this is what we spend money on. We have salaries, benefits, other, debt service. So last year we budgeted around 35, that was how much we were spending. Here's next year and moving forward. Now what I did here was, I did not put any increase in for salaries. Now we know that's not likely, but I just wanted to show you what 0 was. So that's why 16 is there. We can put any number we want in over there, it'll show up over here and calculate out through. Okay. So that's the expense part of this. The revenue part of this gets a little tricky. So revenues are made up of our real estate taxes, and that's the real estate taxes are actually broken down. State federal, and this delinquent is the stuff that we thought we were gonna get but didn't get. So that's why it's a negative. That's people that don't pay. Okay. So if you look down here, you're gonna see, let me decide just as good. There's what's called our fund balance, right there. Way back in the day, the kids say, we only had $200,000 in our fund balance, and that's just scary. However, the board has done a great job every year to see the fund balance is growing. Actually, what the state says is we should have about 3%, we should have 8%, which comes out to, I believe, Dan, what do you say? About $3 million. The state says we are not a savings account. In fact, there's a lawsuit against a school district down in Philly that has literally $50–60 million in their fund balance, and they're still raising taxes. And the state said no, you can't. So the state says about 8%, and after 8%, if you raise taxes, they're going to start questioning. So that's where this is. It's healthy at this point. That fund balance is healthy. Now, if you look across, the fund balance starts going the wrong way. Okay? But that's not really a true number, because I told you our expenses are a lot less than what we thought they were. Okay? And I had that broken down a little further at the end. Sorry, Ms. Martin and I were working on that. We're a little high with salaries, but we had other things come in over budget, like special education transportation, which you cannot, in any sense, be able to budget for. It just happens. So we have certain things that were over, certain things that were under, but you put it all together, we're still able to add a little bit to the fund balance each year. Now, what I have down here is LERTA. LERTA is that idea that as these buildings come on the tax books, they start paying 10%, 20%, 30%. We could only find those LERTAs right now. And what I noticed is, I said, I don't see Bell and Evans on there. Where's Chicopee? And they're not far along in the process. So this will grow as these come on board. So we only have that many LERTAs. So if you go back and look at our projections here, that's the LERTA for that year, then 145, then 214. So that really, if we did 0 tax increase and we did 0 increase in salaries, that's what we have in our fund balance in 3 years. Now, obviously, that's not realistic. But really, I mean, in my opinion, whatever we negotiate, that's kind of how we got to look at the other side of the coin. You know, that money has to come from somewhere. So we are solid. Our fund balance is solid. Yes, ma'am.
When you presented this to me before, like you had it as a 1% increase each year.
I did.
Is that still there, or is it flat?
We can put that in whenever
No,
we
I'm
want.
asking you what this is.
No, this is 0. This is no tax
Okay,
increase.
so this looks a little different.
Yes.
Okay.
If you notice here,
I'm not asking you to put it in.
I have, you notice it's different, but if you look at it, it goes up. You're like, wait a sec, Bensel. You said it was, you have no mills increase. That's because, and this is where it gets confusing. We have what's called the mill value. What's the value of 1 mill here? Mr. Heckman assures me when he looks back, it increases by about 3.4% every year. So the value of our real estate will naturally go up. But if you notice, my mill is stuck at 13.1, 13.1, 13.1, 13.1. That make sense? And that's a reflection of the 1% you just put in for this year. Actual 0.9. So we can adjust these. We can put a number in here, and then this will flow out again. But I left it flat in both cases.
With the mill, like, this is my 6th year trying to figure out what the heck they're doing. But, so when there was, maybe this is more of a Mr. Heckman question, but like when we had that huge decline, like where the developments were going in, and then 2007, 2008 happened, and like your house wasn't worth what it was worth before, did that impact the mill?
Yeah, the mill value was impacted.
Okay.
Because instead of going up maybe 3% each year, it might have actually gone down
Okay.
instead of increasing.
So it can fluctuate in a negative way.
It can.
I I'm just trying to understand.
Now, what you have in front of you is, I took just the big buckets, all salaries, all benefits, but we can break them down. Now, a lot of these things are out of our control. Like, you can control salaries to a point, but from that flows out all the other pieces, benefit pieces that flows out from that. So we have control of some of this, but other things are dependent upon, yes, and so. Yes, sir.
I do what I was gonna let you finish.
Go ahead.
In your projections then, when you're looking at your IDEA money and your title
down here.
funds, and those other revenues over there, the federal and the
Yep,
state revenues.
that's special ed and Title I, Title II.
And the ready to learn and those types
Right
of
there,
things.
yep.
How do you then predict those increases?
We say, some of these are, this is flat. 305, we're assuming that we get it, but it's never going up.
Is that the ready to learn?
Yes, that's ready to
Yeah.
learn.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So for IDEA, a 0.5% increase, we're looking at amazing $2,000.
Okay, so
So,
a
0.5 is an increase. So,
right here.
what is there any politicians here? What the politicians want to say is we gave you more money.
Right.
Yeah, $2,000 more dollars. Thank you for that. So, and that's why these very small amounts are in here. Title I, Title II, 0.5% increase, but it ends up being $1,000. So we'll start using this tool to be able to now project forward. And we'll be able to go out additional years as we get better at this. So I will send this tool to you now. But I wanted a chance to explain it because it can be very overwhelming. Oh, look at all these numbers. And I added the tabs down at the bottom. We have a bond coming off the books 2 years, right? One more year. That shows up as an expense. So if you see bond, debt services drops off there. You see that? That's that bond being paid off, and then it's solid for another 5 or 6 years after that. So a small bond is paid off right there.
Will this be our new fluid budget document that
Yes.
we get as we
Yes.
plan
Yes.
ahead?
I also want to mention one last thing that kudos again to the district because last year 1% increase. Index for us was over 3%. So we came in, and most districts, I came from a district that it wasn't just index. It was, they were trying to get the index. They were looking at index and acceptance. So to get the index, they were cutting things, cutting people, cutting programs. So we're at a point now is, we did a little addition here this year with some staff, and we were still only 1%. Now, I know it's a tax increase, but we are still far better off than most of the districts around us when it comes to where we are right now. Compared to where we were, it's just a phenomenal turnaround. It really is. Kudos to the board.
If I remember correctly, I think our district was the lowest tax
It
decrease.
is. And that's not, yeah, and so we have the lowest in, and look at that, it really jumped up. Look at that, 5%, 4%, but that was to get us out of that hole. But now that we got us out of that hole, we can be a little more. So, yeah, we're low. I came from Berks County. What was your tax rate, Ms. Hassel? What's your millage rate? You know, 27%.
It's got to be better.
27%.
And I would like,
Yeah.
I would like to have in front of us at all times where we are in the state as far as what our taxes are. I just think that that is a good reminder. I think we're like 430th out of 500 or something.
Dan just got some homework.
I just think
Yeah.
it's good to remember
It
when
is.
when we start panicking, just like, just remember where we are and what we want to do. And no, we don't want, I don't believe in raising taxes, but I think that the lowest amount to also not flag the state, because that's what happened too. We didn't raise taxes for several years, and then they said, well, you're not raising taxes, you don't need our money.
Right.
And so then we lost funding, and that's why you see such a high rate there.
So you'll get all emails, the tool now, and what you do is and I'll explain, you can put in over here, you can put in, I'm sorry, for the millage rate's a little different, but for the salary, you just put a number and it flows through. And then we can do some some comparison. So we'll have this moving forward.
Is that an Excel?
Yes. This is an Excel document, as we in education do. We don't really, other than that stuff, we just acquire from other people. This is from Conrad Logic. A lot of these things say CW over here. These were CW's kind of numbers, and Dan felt they were solid. Some say NL on the other sheet that you guys know that is the number Dan put. But the assumptions were from Conrad Logic.
Mr. Heckman, I know this is a new document, but thanks for really wrapping it in the whole way of looking at things. I like the long range plan.
Yeah, and we want to actually go out 2 more years. Dan doesn't know that yet. We can do updates. So what I would like to do is, here's where we're at, here's what we're looking at. Another big variable here is healthcare. It's our second year being self-funded. We had some people that had some pretty severe health issues, which I feel, I don't want to talk about money, just money. I feel, my heart sinks. The flip side of that is we had a pretty rough year insurance-wise. So if you look at a $37 million budget and Dan is 98% accurate, there's about $800,000. And 98%, I would love to be 98% accurate when I do my budget. So there's some variables here that we cannot control. Special ed services and healthcare, and having to do a budget for the state tells us what they're going to give us. It's always, the magic happen. So Dan's been doing a really good job with this and keeping us very tight and estimating low. That's how this happens. But when you ask if it's in the budget, are you asking if we have enough money? Because if it's in the budget, no, because it was never in the budget. But do we have the funds available to spend on it? Yes. Should we? That's a whole other argument. That's what the argument was the protocol problem.
I think those of us who live on budgets, and we like budgets, I think we just would feel better if there was a little envelope somewhere that said, that we're putting some money in, so then we feel like we're...
Right there it is. That's the rainy day fund right there. And what we would like to do is we'd like to start now putting money away into cap reserve. That's unfunded. That's unrestricted. If you put something in a restricted fund, the state likes that, because now you're saying we're only going to spend it on a capital improvement plan. And we don't have anything in there, so we need to start.
We don't have any.
No. Well, we had $200,000 5 years ago. So, baby steps. So, and Dan monitors the healthcare every month. So we're trying to see if we're on course. We're very early in the year. And it's hard because a lot of these things swoop in spring. And we had things from last year, that died with us last year, that's now coming to fruition this year. So that goes back to last year. Fun, right?
Mr. Heckman, for Title I, do you mostly utilize that for
Reading
salary and benefits for Title I personnel?
Yeah, I believe that's.
Yes, reading specialists and reading specialists and classroom reduction teachers.
Yeah.
This Title II is 1 classroom reduction teacher. We have classroom reduction teachers at Title I and reading specialists.
Okay, so all your Title I and Title II is salary and benefits. That's the
Which I'd
cleanest
like
way to
to
do it.
talk
Yeah,
about that later on.
right. Well, that's the cleanest way to do it. How do you guarantee?
Right. I'd rather have that than something that we can do without.
Right, yeah.
Any questions? Fascinating, isn't it? Oh, I lost a lot of people. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bensel, for the budget report. Before we get into the reports of representatives, I think we were remiss as we were voting. I kind of looked over And right behind Jen Hessler is State Arts, and I didn't see him. So when we approved your move, nothing was said, and I wanted to personally thank you for your years of service, and you're certainly going to.
I just saw the letter, right?
That's my bad. I saw it. I thought, oh wait.
I was going to say something at the end, so.
Okay.
So
I'll let you do that.
So Mr. Arts had the opportunity to go to Cornwall, Lebanon, and become the principal of Cornwall Elementary, and he accepted that position. And I believe he'll be voted on the 18th of September there. And I'm going to release him immediately so he can take control of his building. So Brad, Jen, and Ben assure me that they'll be able to handle things in his absence. But congratulations to Mr. Arts, and thank you for all you've done for us.
Sorry about that, Dr. Benson. So we're going to go to the reports for representatives, the career and technology. David Klein.
All right, I don't have much for everybody. I have a handout for all the board members, and I'll make sure each of you all get one. But I did ask Glenn Mack, the administrative director over at the CTC, just for my general knowledge, and I'd like to just share it with you all. The three most in-demand courses they offer over there are automotive tech, welding, and machinists. And automotive tech, approximately $37,000 upon graduation. That's about what they're going for. And then welders are making approximately $30,000 to $40,000 upon graduation. And then the highest is machinist. They're making $38,000 to $45,000 upon graduation. So just wanted to share that with you all. We preach go to college for the last decade, but there's a real need for trades, and I'm starting to learn a little bit more about that. So yeah, that's it.
And Intermediate Unit 13, Stacy Murray.
I apologize, but I was a slacker and I didn't get to the last meeting, so I have no report.
You're forgiven. Okay. Now, Beth, I'm going to ask you for your report, but before I do that, due to work commitments, Beth is asked to be taken off this committee because of the timing of the meetings. I believe there are 4 meetings a year, so if there's anyone on the board that would like to entertain the idea of being TCC and they have any questions for Beth, you can ask Beth what's involved, etc. But send like a minimal amount, 4 meetings a year, etc. So, Beth, do you have anything to report other than that?
I do have meeting minutes. I can't find them in a second, so I can forward them to anyone who's interested. The last meeting was, I think, 2 weeks ago on a day that I was working, so I didn't make it, and the current meeting minutes won't be out until the next quarter. So if anyone has questions about the previous quarter, I can forward you the minutes.
Thank you, Beth. Legislative PSBA Liaison, Director Inland.
Okay, just this week, the House has returned to session in Harrisburg. That's good news, but the bad news is they are discussing whether or not to pass what the Senate passed, and that was a revenue bill to close the $2 billion deficit that we have in Harrisburg. And it looks like the House is not going to approve and vote yes for that. So it looks like that's going to cause some problems with our state budget, which could come back to be harmful to us. We don't know. And as it is, we don't know these things until whenever they get done with them, and then of course it always affects us. So I can forward you this email if you want to see it. It's really long and very wordy, but that's what I got out of it, is that we really don't know what's going to happen, but it looks like the House is not going to go for what the Senate does. So, and it's a $2 billion deficit. So,
May I just add, since I was PSBA liaison as well. There is the PSBA conference coming up in October. If you are interested in attending that, it is 3 days in October. It is, if you're able to attend all 3 days, that would be great, and then you could report back to us. I think there probably would be a way that we can also divide that up to pay for the 3 days and then have different individuals go. We can look into that. So if you are interested, you can let us know, or Dr. Benzel, or I'm sure Mrs. Martin can help as well.
Thank you. Now, I also have no public input for non-agenda items. So we'll go to new business.
Just 2 quick things. Thanks to Mr. McGee for our new computers that have Microsoft Office on them, that will be able to be, at least for me, a little more functional about the. And also, just a reminder, our workshop is tomorrow at 6 o'clock with Dr. Sherry Smith. A light dinner will be provided. We don't really need to bring anything except questions if you would like to have her address anything specific. I did get a couple questions and I forwarded them to her, so she had them ahead of time. It's supposed to be here, but we may need a different location since the auditors have their spread. So.
Thank you, Director Sell. One other quick note before we adjourn. This evening, after this meeting, we will have an executive session to discuss a personnel issue. And that'll be immediately following this. Are we having anything here after?
Yes, same.
Okay, so there's still something here we want to socialize, but we'll give you like 15, 20 minutes and then we'll.
Glenn, I had something before we adjourn.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment on the administrative report that wasn't.
It was.
Yeah, it was. It was written. I just wanted to say that in early July, Dr. Benzel's first day or 2 on the job, I came to him and the board. We discussed at the end of the meeting about the problem with middle school lunches starting at 9:30, and my mind told me, and I said to Dr. Benzel, we need to blow a wall out. If we have to shut down phys ed class for the first marking year, we got to get this cafeteria built bigger. We can't have this happen. And you guys came up, you did a great job. I just wanted to commend you and Nate Arts. By the end of the meeting, you guys were already telling us things that we could do to solve this. That's why I teach phys ed and you guys run buildings, because you're smarter than me. But what you did came up, it was very good. I mean, my boy's in middle school now, and he eats at 10:30 or 11 in the morning. So you guys did a great job rectifying that 9:30 a.m. lunch situation, and you did it very fiscally responsible, and you made good choices. And I just wanted to commend you guys for addressing that, and Dr. Benzel for making that a priority. I appreciate that, and our kids do too. And I just wanted to thank you. So.
On that really positive note,